I point on you to say something, then say something. Or if you see that I forgot something, just tap me on the shoulder and say something in my ear, and I'll say. Or I'll just say, go ahead and say.
You can have a notebook going around as well. I'm trying to save our comments too.
Always on vibrated silence.
Yeah.
They are Moors.
You know Providence?
Yeah.
You have a way that I can be in contact?
Yeah. It's on.
Let me just give you a brief introduction of who I am and what I do, and then I'm here to listen. So this is the Providence External Review Authority. What it is a new board. Before PERA, the only way to make the complaint was through internal affairs. What does that mean? Police officers themselves will take the complaint. And personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with that process. However, there's a new process created where civilians, people who are not police officers, take complaints. So I understand there's a complaint to be filed, which is what we're here to talk about. Or at least that's what I was told by the officials of the city. My name is Jose Batista. I can give you folks contact information from me if you need it. And I'll tell you a little bit about what my role is. I'm the executive director for the PERA board. After I receive any complaint, I'll review it, and I have 30 days in which to make a recommendation to my board. Providence External Review Authority. So I have 30 days to make a recommendation. Our next board meeting is going to take place in this room on October 30th. And so at that point is which I'll probably make the recommendation. The recommendations are not made in public. They're made in executive private session to protect the information of all of you, right? We don't want to discuss this in public. We have had a brief conversation on the phone with Jamal about what we might be interested in doing. Basically, the three recommendations I can make is to either dismiss a complaint if there's not enough information. Recommend that the complaint go to mediation. Mediation is a professional process in which folks from the complaining party would sit down with the mediator and the police officers involved and try to discuss what happened in hopes of coming up with an agreement as to how to prevent this sort of thing from happening again. And the third bucket would be an investigation, right? If we're not clear on what happened and we want more information, we can have an investigation, right? So part of what the conversation will be today will be not only what happened, but the second part is also what would you like to see happen in terms of one of those three buckets. I don't make any comments with regard to results or guarantees. This is a process I see intended to be fair and to most importantly listen to what's happening in the community, right? Folks sometimes have expectations. You might hear about PERA in the news. People like to distort and confuse who it is that we are and what we do, but ultimately we're here to serve the community. I'm personally born and raised right here in Providence. I'm an attorney. I used to have a law practice in Washington, and so I've been in this role since March of this year. Prior to that, I was a public defender, so my role is to take basically complaints, similar, but cases that actually involve criminal activity and represent people in court that way. I've been an attorney for about 6 years, and I've been in this role for about maybe like 8 months or so. So that's a little bit about me and who I am. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Or if you want to jump right into talking about what happened, I'd be happy to do that.
Anyone have questions?
I do. Are you still a member of the Bar Association? Yes.
Anyone else? Alright, great. So I've been teaching classes for about 2 years, every Saturday. This past Saturday, October 5th, I think, I was given a class, and about an hour and a half into my class, one of my cousins who was in attendance of the class called me on the phone. I knew that was weird because he was actually in the class. He knows I'm live on YouTube. My classes have been live for about a year. He told me that there's cops outside looking for someone with a weapon. I then tell everyone who's in the class what was going on. This gentleman then goes outside to see that the Providence Police was surrounding my cousin. And shortly after, this gentleman went downstairs and seen that the police were about to raid the building. They would have been successful if it weren't for all of us going downstairs to see what was happening. By the time I got downstairs, these people have informed me that the cops said they were looking for someone with an assault rifle. They had a phone call that someone called them and said they seen someone with an automatic weapon, and that they had actually seen the live video and seen what appeared to be an automatic rifle. So they were trying to see what was going on and to make sure everyone was safe. Everyone here went downstairs to let the police know that everything's fine, everyone's safe. And like I said before, if it wasn't for us going outside, they were willing to raid the entire building and do whatever it is that they wanted to do without any probable cause, any consent whatsoever. Then when I got down there, I read Rhode Island State Constitution, where it says that, I'm just going to read it. The right of people to be secure in their persons, papers, possessions against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon complaint in writing, which a phone call is not a complaint in writing. Then, upon probable cause, which you can argue that the phone call is probable cause, but then it states supported by oath or affirmation, which people calling the police don't take an oath or affirm to anything that they're saying on the phone. Once I read that, about half the police left, but half of them stayed. There were about 20 police, men and women there, as well as cop cars circling, probably about a block radius of where we were, and with their siren going, as if there was an emergency, which when we went outside, we stated everyone's safe, everything's fine. The police also admitted to seeing the video, and it's clearly displayed on the video that everyone was safe, no one was in harm's way, but it was as if they were trying to, show some type of force against us, as if we were doing anything wrong. Then I'm renting this space, so my neighbor they have a cat there. She had to go through a line of police, then a line of us trying to protect the building, protecting our constitutional rights, just to go upstairs to take care of her cat and then leave. So now that affects my relationship with not only the person that I'm leasing from, but now the neighbor, because it seems like we're doing some type of criminal activity when we told the police nothing's going on. So we have full intentions on bringing charges against them. And at the end of the entire situation, the police tried to come and apologize as if they were just trying to make sure everything was fine. But like I said before, they seen the video, they admitted to seeing the video on video, because we were recording them. So they admitted to seeing that we were having this class and that nothing wrong was happening. Then the police stated that they were going to do an investigation on the phone call that was made against us. So we just want to make sure that all these things are happening. They also stated that it could have just been someone trying to make a Second Amendment scandal or whatever, which we had no intentions on doing any of that. I'm a military veteran, so there's no need for me to show weapons or do anything because that's just not who I am. But yeah, we know that they had full intentions on violating every single constitutional right that we had, and if it wasn't for us going outside and preventing them from raiding, like I said, this gentleman seen them stacked against the building, about to raid the building. They didn't even know which floor we were on, they didn't know anyone's name, they didn't know, again, where we were, so they were just about to do something completely unlawful, and again, if it wasn't for us risking our lives, they would have successfully done that. So one thing that we would like to happen is have a meeting with either the chief of police or that lieutenant that was there to relate to them how they're supposed to conduct business as it relates to us. So what I have right here is a House resolution from the state of Illinois, where the state of Illinois recognized Moors as Aboriginal and Indigenous people to North, South, and Central America, as well as us forming a sovereign theocratic government which deals with the issues of diversity, meaning they have no jurisdiction to even if they did see us on video with whatever they thought that we had, even if they did see it, they should know they have no jurisdiction over people who were here before them. So that's what I'd like to see happen. Is there anything else you'd like me to add or tell this gentleman?
We asked for a sheriff, and we were told that there were no sheriffs in Rhode Island.
You were told them what?
There were no sheriffs.
What do you mean?
We asked to speak to a sheriff to come and speak to us, and we were told there was no sheriff.
So there were several sergeants there, there was a lieutenant there, and there were several, I'm not sure if they were detectives or undercover, whatever they were, they all showed up. So there was just a fiasco or a show put on for nothing.
Wasting taxpayers' money.
Basically, yeah. That's basically it. I think we...
According to that too, they didn't have no name tags. They were very quiet when we start asking questions, and when we having a dialogue and we asking questions as the public, they have to be able to have a response. And what's happening is they're always been having one dialogue. There's always questioning us, like if it was an investigation. According to anything, there's no investigation running through. So we have the ability to be able to be heard and the right to be able to ask questions. So in according to that, they got very aggressive. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to put that on the record too as well.
Also, like you were saying, in the initial contact, a lot of them didn't want to give us their names.
The police officers?
Yeah, they didn't want to give us their names.
Excuse me, including the last sergeant who showed up, Tim, I believe his name was. I asked him for his name and badge number, and he said at this point, I don't understand why you would have to know that information. And I said, it's my right to know since you're involved in what's going on here.
Just public servant.
Right. He did end up giving it to me. I did extend my hand twice to that same one, and twice he hesitated about 30 full seconds before even initiating to, shake my hand.
You up to the shit. The second time you finally, after you see more of us walking out, then you shook your hand.
Yeah, and like I said before, all of this is on camera. Not from the very beginning, but there is footage of them still in a line as if they were ready to raid the building. So I think we started recording a few minutes after. Once they seen how many of us there were, and they kind of started to separate to make it seem like they weren't about to raid the building, when they were in fact about to raid the building. I was in the Marines, I know what a stack looks like. They were definitely about to raid that building, based on basically hearsay. A third party saying something, and then them seeing a video that didn't even reflect what they said they were there for. So they had full intentions on violating every single one of us in the room, and all of that's on camera.
I was going to say collectively the full footage of what happened between.
And even in the initial, when we initially talked to them downstairs, we told them that everything was fine, that everyone was safe. And the officer continued to say that he was not going to leave, that they were not leaving.
And we did inform them that there was in fact no crime committed, so there was no need for them to investigate without a warrant.
In other words, they try to deprive us of our rights under Title 18-242, colorably. You know?
No, continue.
They attempted to deprive us of our rights under Title 18, 242, and 241, actually.
Anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to add?
We did, in fact, speak with the officer. I did inform them because they were, especially the, I'm pretty sure he started Tim at the end, tried to incriminate us even at the end by saying that, you know, it's in our opinion that someone called and said that there's an automatic weapon. He kept repeating automatic weapon, which I had told him previously that he knows automatic weapons are illegal in the state of Rhode Island, and semi-automatic weapons are perfectly legal in Rhode Island, and that everything was fine. But he was trying to incriminate us by using those words, and he knows exactly what those words mean.
Using semantics, pretty much.
What the Constitution does state, we have the right to bear arms, and it doesn't limit or stop us from any kind of arms. You know, the Constitution, you're free. You're able to bear arms, whether full, semi, or with just 3 in a chamber or in a magazine. You understand? We have that constitutional right. You know, amongst other rights that allow us to do.
Did they ever come into the building?
No, by the time all of us got outside, they realized that it wasn't just a few people in the room, so they couldn't just raid the building. And we went outside, no one had anything, we weren't being, like I said, everything's on camera, we weren't pointing anything at them, it was our words. What's going on here? Do you have a warrant? What's going on? And they kept saying, well, we had a call that there was automatic weapons in the building, we just want to make sure everyone's safe, but then again, they admitted to seeing the video, so you can see on video, no one's in harm's way. You know what I'm saying? So
Plus, there was children also, so
yeah, there were children.
no one's doing nothing, you know, crazy.
Like I said, everything is on footage. My class that day, us interacting with them, and then all the way up to the point where they left. So in the video, they try to claim that they wanted to make sure everyone was safe. Again, they admitted to seeing the video. In the video, which is on YouTube right now, not edited, you can see everyone's safe. Then we went outside and said everyone's safe. So what more did they want? They were just standing there, called more, as if they were trying to incite something. When we were trying to have a class every Saturday, which is the Sabbath, which is our religious right to do so in the Bible, and all the holy books says honor the Sabbath, which is Saturday, and that's what we were doing. So now they're infringing on our religious rights, which is secured by the Rhode Island State Constitution, Article 1, Section 3. So there's multiple laws that they violated in that one instance. And I truly believe that a meeting with them would help prevent these type of things from happening, because we are trying to make our people into better citizens. We're trying to get our people to stop killing each other, to stop robberies, to stop doing drugs. That's our mission. So to stop us from trying to do that is as if they don't want our people to get out of the situation that they're in. And the only way to get our people out of that situation is to teach them about the Constitution, which rights you do have, why they're protected, and what you should not be doing. So, I mean, this problem can be attacked from multiple different ways. We violated our religious rights. We violated our constitutional rights. We violated the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. We violated the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights. So we can have multiple arguments, which I personally don't want to have to go through the headache of going through a lawsuit and arguing this in court. I truly believe that mediation can prevent future events like this from happening. Because I fully intend on having our people bearing arms publicly, which Rhode Island, with a long rifle, you don't need a license to open carry, to protect our events, because that's exactly what we need to be doing. Especially if the police have that mindset of, okay, we can just raid them whenever we want. All right, well, if you think that, we know the Constitution, we're going to make sure you think twice before you do that. Because basically the Constitution is live free or die. You're not infringing on our rights. And that's not a threat. I don't desire to threaten anyone. That's just the principle of the Constitution. It's if you wage war against the Constitution, that is treason, and the punishment is death. That's not my law. That's the United States codes.
Supreme law of the land.
Yeah. So again, I truly believe mediation can prevent things like this from happening in the future, because nobody wants this. I was in fear of my life. There were children in that room. I'm pretty sure everyone else felt that they were in fear because the police had all the guns. Every single one outside on that video of those policemen and women were armed. We weren't. So we're outnumbered. We're outarmed. We're outmanned. It's not fair that they all take an oath to this Constitution, but they think that they can just do things unconstitutional. Your job is to
Abuse their power.
So yeah, I would like to seek mediation.
That's great. I think that's what creates part of the major confusion, because we hear that they swear oath to the Constitution, and we hear that the Constitution governs the countries and everything else, but then what we see is different. It doesn't seem like they swore an oath to any of this, and then when we're reading it to them, and none of them have any knowledge of what we're reading to them, so how they call themselves law enforcement, but they know no law. So that's a problem within itself. I mean, we can't, it's like I'm a gardener and I come up to your house and I'm busting a hole in the wall. When I should be in the garden dealing with your grasses, right? So if they're law enforcers, they should enforce the law. And this is law. They don't seem to know any of it, so that's weird.
So with that, the ones that did know, once I started reading Article 1, Section 6, they left. But there were a few rookies that were there staying, and then the lieutenant was way in the back on the phone. So it was very confusing, like, okay, you see that you don't have a warrant, you see that you shouldn't be here, half of you left, and then towards the end of the event, I think it was the sergeant that pulled up, he admitted that they had no standing, they had no warrant, they had no right to search the building. So what were they there for?
And he still kept trying to push, well, if you just would have let us investigate, we already stated there was no crime, so no investigation.
Several sergeants out there, a lieutenant, and 2 higher hats.
Their bosses
But they're setting an example for the regular rookie guys who are there that, okay, this constitutional thing is whatever, just infringe on their rights. Just stay here and don't move unless we tell you. And then
Oh, the supervisor, right?
yeah, but they're also encouraging the little guys. And I know some of them probably only have a year, probably 6 months in. And they're encouraging them to rip their name tags off and do these tactics against the people. That's not.
Well, to hide them when
Hide
when
your
they
name
stand
tag like
this
this, and we have to forcefully
and
ask them.
until you ask them, then they'll
Then
do
they'll do
this
that.
and tell you, but a lot of their badge names are missing and just the badge with number is there, but they need name tags.
Also,
No one had business cards
No
at
one
all.
had a business
We
card.
asked everyone.
Nobody handed you a card?
No, we asked for business
Not
cards.
the sergeant who came
One.
up last, none of them.
Everyone claimed they didn't have a business card, and I said, that's kind of hard to believe.
By the end of the incident? Even then?
Even
Not
the
even-
last sergeant, the boss who looked like he just came, was about to leave work or whatever, they had to call him because they couldn't do anything.
Yeah, somebody gave him a ride, I think. That was his wife or something.
And
They dropped him off in the
saying
scene,
what's going on,
or whatever
they
it
had a
was.
Conversation.
So you never, ever got a card?
Never.
Not from anybody?
No.
We would have it here. We would have it because we documented everything that went on if we don't have a business card. And we asked, he asked each and every one, and even after a sergeant pulled up and a lieutenant pulled up, and he
That's
asked.
also on video.
Also, it's also on video, he was recording one of the, I think it was the sergeant.
It was the sergeant.
He was on the phone saying they're peaceful, there's about 20 of them. So if you're recognizing that we're peaceful, why are you still there? If that's coming out of your mouth, why are you still there? Why are 10 of your armed men and women still there?
And
What are you here for?
there was actually an Amber Alert at the time as well.
Came over the radio. 12-year-old girl missing. And everybody stood there, stayed there, for no reason. Should have been going to see about who really needed the help.
Where's your building?
23 Acorn Street.
23 Acorn Street? And so you like rent a space in that building? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Acorn?
Yes.
And this was on 10/5
Yes.
in the afternoon?
Yes. Probably around 1 to 2 p.m. Yeah. And I think the entire altercation was about almost an hour,
Almost an
yeah.
hour, if not more.
The
incident when the police being there, they were there for over an hour.
So when the first wave of police left, what, how long did that take for them to leave?
Probably about 30
At
minutes.
least 30 minutes is when we had come out and started reading the Constitution, half of them left.
Yeah, and like I said, everything's on camera. You'll see me out there reading this ripped up Constitution. I was reading Article 1, Section 6, searches and seizures, and once I read that you can't do anything without a warrant, search warrant, clearly describing who you're looking for, what you're looking for, where you're gonna look for it. Once I read that, those who knew left. Those who knew the Constitution, they left. Those who didn't know, they stayed.
And it took the second group about another half hour to leave?
Yeah, those were the higher ups, the sergeant, lieutenant, that was those guys, they hung around.
They stuck around?
I think it took a little more than half.
Yeah.
Did anything happen, or they just kind of decided?
Well, they were talking, so
They still have the rookies
we
standing
walked
by.
up to them to see what, because I was confused. I still didn't understand what was going on. In the camera, you'll see whoever pulled up late, the guy that refused to shake our hand, they were by his car. So I said, let's go see what they're still here for. So we walked up, we said, what's going on? They said, why are you surrounding us? So we backed up. Then we were still trying to figure out what was going on. And then towards the end, they said, nothing's going on. We're about to leave, go inside. So we backed up towards the door. We wanted to stay there and wait till they left. And then one of them came over and said they had no standing. They had no right to search the building. Then they try to clean it up by saying, we just want to make sure everyone's safe. He said something along the lines of, in my opinion, there were automatic weapons. There appeared to be an automatic weapon. Then they said they didn't want to not have an investigation, and then based on them not having an investigation, someone would end up hurt. But then I kept saying, well, you said you admitted to seeing the video. So what do you need to investigate if you've seen? Like if someone says they see this meeting, they would see no one's in danger. So there would be no need for you to stick around to make sure no one's in danger. You know what I'm saying? So
The meeting was live.
yeah, so that's how that ended. They try to end it on a clean note, as if they weren't about to raid the building, to try to avoid that. This claim for being brought against them. You know, that's all I have. I'm just saying the same thing over and over because that's what happened. You know?
And we did mention to them that we were non-residents of, or non-citizens of.
Yeah, that we're not citizens.
Non-citizens of Rhode Island?
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything you want to add?
Thank you.
According to all the information that you have receiving and taken in and having written down, what do you remedies, like pretty much like what are you conducting, like what's your next step of your status of the individual on the society of the state of Rhode Island? What are your definition of what you heard, like what are you gonna take in perspective, and what's your actions or what we're gonna do after?
The biggest part of what we're going to do is focused on what you all would like to see happen. What I'm hearing is that there are three options that we have. Well, there are two options really: mediation or investigation. You all want to do something like this, but not just with the police officers, but with a member of our staff, somebody who's a professional mediator who's done this for 20 years, who will, from what I understand, what happens is they'll meet with you for practice, and then the police will be in another room, they'll meet with them, and then come together. With the hopes of coming up with an agreement, right? Understanding a little bit more about the Moorish people, and what your constitution says and what you do. And this meeting sounds like it's going to happen more often, right? Like every week, every 2 weeks?
Well, yeah, we have a meeting every week.
So I imagine part of what we want is to make sure that your meetings are going to be not disturbed, right?
Yeah, and if, of course, if we're committing crimes, raid that building. We're not against that. We're not against if we're actually violating the Constitution, if we're actually hurting someone, then of course. But that's not what we're for. We're a religious organization, and our prophet teaches us to abide by love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and the enforcement of the Constitution, which is protecting everyone's rights. So we have no intentions on being malicious. We have no intentions on promoting any criminal activity, doing anything illegal or unlawful. That's not what we're about. So I would like for the police department to recognize our status and what we're here to do, and who we are and what we're about. Because if they were informed about who we were and what we're about, then they would know, okay, this is a religious organization. They're obviously not about anything violent because it's a religious organization. How often do you hear about a religious organization committing crimes?
Correct.
Very rarely. And if it is, it's something, it's like racketeering or something. And if, all right, if we're racketeering, okay, do an investigation, show me the warrant, and then search our stuff. But until then, you shouldn't be here.
Right. So a lot of us wear our Moorish garb, our feathers, our national headdress and turbans. So when you even come encounter with us, that's what we are. We're our own national movement, and we don't want to be disturbed. So I think that's what it was. They see us with all of our feathers and turbans on and standing our ground for what we know as law.
Sure.
So when you see us or see our flag that I have right here, you know, don't violate us.
Unless you see us committing a crime. And there better be an injured party, and if there's not, we're taking you to court.
Yeah.
You know, there should be no reason why we're violated whatsoever.
We trying to help the society too as well. Like according to that, we trying to protect and serve. We're not over here harassing and collecting, because that's why every system of city and state comes to. At the end of the day, everybody is out there. Even if you see my brother right here committing a crime, I'm going to stop him and I'm gonna make sure he stick to the consequences. But over there, they use the call of law to be able to violate us all the time. And you see that all the time in the news, and buyers have interest, and that's not what we're here for. We're over here pretty much like exercising our constitutional right, and instead, like he says, you know, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, you know?
Does most folks live in Providence or elsewhere?
There's different
Providence.
territories that come together.
One more time?
We domicile.
Most of us are here in Providence, some of us come from other areas, but we're
And-
pretty
and-
close by.
And you meet regularly once a week? Always at the same
Once
time?
if not more.
And this is the first time you've had any sort of incident?
Oh, yeah, this is the first time. But the manner in which it was conducted, there was no need for 20 cops there and then circling the block as if there's an actual emergency when.
No professionalism whatsoever. And in my believing, they putting us in danger, because they're the one with the weapons and incompetency of the Constitution.
Yeah.
Correct.
We're not hiding anything. We don't have anything to hide. If anything, we're more than happy to go and meet with officials to actually get to a point where this doesn't ever happen. And in fact, that they see us, they already know that they're not gonna have trouble with that more. You understand? Because they know what we stand for, and we have conversations, you know.
Mutual amity, peace, and friendship.
Yes. And it preferably should be on a monthly basis. You know, people in the executive branch of Rhode Island state, you know, so if you can also relay that message to officials in City Hall and stuff like
Well,
that.
that's why we're scheduling that meeting with the mayor for that purpose.
Yeah.
How is that going?
We spoke to the secretary, brought up the same thing. We scanned our complaints, spoke to the secretary. I think we're just waiting for an email, but we're trying to put him, schedule, just so we can clarify our status and who we are, what our intentions are, so that there be no misunderstanding, full disclosure on what we're about, what we do, and why we're here.
Are there chapters in Rhode Island or just here in Providence?
Right now, just here.
And then I imagine in other states. That's my appreciate. I've learned a lot.
That's what you get into. You're gonna learn a lot more once you get into it.
Yeah.
You're part of it.
I mean, as you can see, we have Black's Law Dictionary, attorneys, judges, it's self-evident that this is what we do.
You're an attorney, right? What is your view on color of authority, like negative and positive? What do you think color?
What do I think of?
Color of authority.
With the state?
Yeah.
I think that there's a reason why PERA, this board exists, these questions about search and seizure, warrants, they go back to the 1700s. And we're still kind of dealing with it, right? And so some people say that PERA should not exist. I obviously don't agree with that. I think that, you folks are reasonable.
Your program is in this book as post se comitatus.
Post se?
Yeah, post se comitatus is one way for the individuals to gather amongst and be a unity against anything that comes against it. It's in that law. They say comitatus.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So them trying to tell you you're not supposed to be here, you're already here.
Yeah. I just got back from Detroit, Michigan, where there was a conference of 200 U.S. like this one. San Francisco, Rhode Island, Jamaica, Germany. This work happens all over the place, and it's important. Right? Just like the mayor makes mistakes, and the governor makes mistakes, and the president makes mistakes, and they get elected or not elected. We need to make sure the government is working. So I believe it's necessary, and these things happen. Some of the complaints we get involve violence. Right? Some of the complaints we get involve discrimination and racism. Some of the complaints we get involve financial damages, right? There's all sorts of complaints, and so we try to build a process where people can get hurt. Most of the time, it's just one person who comes in. So this is my first time meeting with a big group, but his work is important, right? Because the points that you bring up are necessary. And today, it's you. Tomorrow, it could be another
Someone else, yeah.
I actually, there's actually an interesting clinic, there's interesting work taking place at Roger Williams Law School with Aboriginal groups. I have a friend who's originally from Puerto Rico and part of an Aboriginalist movement there.
Do you know any more about that, or we'd like to?
I can put you in contact with them.
That goes with the Araquats and the Tainos and the Caribs. I know because I'm from the Araquat tribe too as well. I'm Aboriginals and indigenous of the land of the West Atmosphere of the Americas.
Law school? You said Roger Williams Law School?
Yeah, so I'll be happy to give you the information of some folks. I know that there are 2 students right now who started going to law school right now for this exact reason. Their hope is to make some sort of clinic or program to help Aboriginal groups get recognized.
Yeah.
But I think they're doing work like with the federal government.
Yeah.
This is obviously a little bit more local government, but
I think it starts there. I think it starts local.
yeah, absolutely. And then, just the immediate, like you don't want to have anybody interrupt your meetings in the future, and it's good if people know who you are.
Yeah.
And not just who you are, but what you do, what you believe, what you stand for.
The
So I
history
can-
of it.
We would
The
also,
history of it. That's how we do
we
it.
would also ask whoever's mediating, they not be ex parte.
Ex parte?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
we don't want the mediation to be one-sided, to only benefit.
Well, that's why you said the mediator is going to speak with us, then speak with the police, and then we're going to get them together. Yeah.
And just so you know, the person that we use for mediation is out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Part of the reason why we do that is to make, because Rhode Island is so small, everybody knows everybody. So she's great. I like her a lot.
Oh, so while they're doing that, it's just they call it interest of bias. They cannot be able to have somebody official inside of the district to be able to come and mediate the situation as an ex parte delegations. Okay.
So I'll give you guys a timeline, right? Like I said, our next meeting is going to be right here in this room on October 30th. You're invited to come. It is not necessary for you to come. The only thing that's going to happen at that meeting in terms of this is that I'm going to make a recommendation to the board. They will vote. And then I suspect, usually when I make a recommendation and I give details, that more often than not, the board goes along with what I'm telling them, because not because it's me, but because I've done the work. I've met with you all. They have not.
Yeah, firsthand knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll recommend mediation, and then after that, as soon as the next day, I can call you and put you in touch with the mediator and coordinate the time and place. I know from the mayor's office who called me that they have reached out to the police chief already. Obviously, they know about the situation. I suspect that they will welcome the opportunity to meet with you and to discuss this, right? I know the chief of police in particular, he's a very honest and reasonable person. The police
He's been
department.
chief of police for years. So he's been chief of police for years.
Yeah, he's been for maybe like 9 years or so. So this is a pretty good amount of time. But he's a good guy. And the police office, the police department is about 500 police officers, right? So it's a big job to kind of supervise everybody. But I think that from this is going to come something good. I don't know. I can't tell you how soon. So October 30 is the meeting, 6 o'clock at night in this room. It'll be open to the public. Like I said, in the public portion of the meeting, we're not going to talk about this incident. Just like we don't talk about any incident, right? Sorry, because they're private facts, and we respect everybody's confidentiality. But after the meeting, we'll go about coordinating the mediation. I won't be present. It'll be with the mediator. It'll probably be here in this building, unless something else happens. But Jamal has my phone number, and you can be in direct communication with me. If you have any questions or any follow-up or anything that's not clear, if there's anything that you don't like. But part of me is I'm obviously not happy to hear that this happened. But I'm happy to hear that you are clear on what you want, which is a mediation. Right? Who wouldn't want to do that? So I think that's reasonable. That's something that can happen.
Thank you.
During your public meetings, what do you guys discuss?
So the board is relatively new. Right? The board was impaneled at the beginning of 2018, so we are less than 2 years in. Part of our work is building the board, right? So in recent meetings, we were talking about hiring our staff. Investigator, mediator, legal intern, everything like that. There's a big issue going on right now regarding something called a gang database policy, which is really complicated and big. It's been in the news, but we are doing research on how to make a better policy, right? Because the policy that exists right now
No bueno.
is exactly, as we would say in Spanish, no bueno. So different things, right? It could be staff that we're talking about, our budget. It could be policy that we're talking about. I think at this meeting we're going to do we're going to publish an annual report. So I'm going to give a summary of everything that we've been working on. I just got back from the conference in Detroit, so I'm going to talk about all the different work that's happening across the country. You know, in Seattle, in Arizona, and everywhere. In almost every major city in America, there's a police oversight board, and so I'm borrowing ideas from them, right? What's working, what's not, what's good, what doesn't work. So it's different. It depends. That's what's coming up in the